So you want some better looking screenshots in B-roll. I'm gonna cover two methods today that I think both work decently well inside DaVinci Resolve. But first, I just wanna show everybody this really cool tool. Let's say there's this website that I would like to use in my video. Well, there's this really cool extension for all Chromium-based browsers. So I'm on Brave. If you're on Chrome, this will work as well. And it's called Go Full Page. The way it works is like this. I click it, it grabs it, and then I can download it. Super easy. Now we can hop into DaVinci. So I'll go ahead and take our image, drag it into the media pool, and we can begin. The first method is going to be brought to us by friend and sponsor of the channel, Shark. What we're going to do is we're going to drag our image onto our timeline, resize and position it to sit however we would like. And the way Shark's tool works like this. I go up to the effects tab, go over to the effects, drop down, look for Shark. Once it's all installed, and voila! Not only do we have a bunch of presets like this guy right here that I could drag and drop on, change the source to custom. Now we have a real simple, slick 3D camera animation, and I can make this as long as I need to, and it is going to work just fine. Or the method that I kind of like doing is as so. I'm gonna go ahead and delete the preset real quick, and instead I'm gonna go up to the generators tab. The reason being is that Shark has a QuickCam generator. Let me show you how it works. I can click on the generator here. Don't need to change the source at all. And now all I have to do is choose a starting position, rotation, and center location, and then do the exact same thing for my ending. Zoom, center position, and rotation. And immediately we get this very sleek animation. And the cool thing about the generator is I can go to my spline editor, toggle on whatever things I want to animate, quickly select my 2 points, hit F to flatten, and I can drag these handles out to get some very clean, simple animations. And if you get QuickCam Pro, it has an effects tab as well that you can go on, toggle on things like procedural pixels. So now I can go ahead and change this to something like overlay, and I have a cool pixelation effect, along with things like depth of field, which is incredible for just a level of polish that you can't normally get easily. He's included a whole slew of really nice polishing, compositing effects, but you know, in a matter of like 5 clicks, we have a very simple, nice 3D camera effect. There's a free and paid version. You can use code WAMPUS for 10% off. If you don't want to use Shark's tool, well, life's a little bit harder, but not unmanageable. I'm gonna go ahead and delete what we've got in the timeline here. I'm gonna go up to the effects tab and drag and drop in a fusion composition. Now moving forward, I'm gonna assume you are new-ish to DaVinci Resolve. Maybe not brand new, but you know, maybe you're not completely comfortable in Fusion. Fusion composition should be your de facto starting point whenever you're trying to do some kind of motion graphic sequence from scratch. Could you start with the image itself? Of course, but a lot of times life's gonna be better down the road for you when we just start with a blank composition. So I'm gonna right click, hit open in Fusion, and now we've got a blank slate to work with. Anytime you're working in Fusion, your first step should be to add in a blank background node. Mine comes in pre-transparent, but if yours doesn't, just drag the alpha slider over here in the inspector tab to 0. Why do we start with a background node? Well, because in the image tab, it sets up our canvas. It sets up the resolution for us to work with our image. Everything else that we're gonna do is gonna happen between this background node and the media out. Now, there's 2 routes inside of Fusion that we could take. One might be the one that you're expecting, and it would be to involve a 3D camera. This is a very viable, acceptable route, but it might not be the simplest. This system is something I've covered in various videos, but if you do want to follow up to this video, let me know. What we're going to use is a node called the DVE node, DVE. Now I'm going to leave it unconnected from now, but if I have this node here selected, if we look in the upper right-hand corner in our inspector tab, you can see all of our 3D movement properties. So we have 3D rotation and Z position. If all we're trying to do is animate a screenshot or some B-roll with a little bit of 3D perspective, this is going to be an easier route to go down. So let's go ahead and bring in our image. So I'm going to go up to the media pool and I'm going to grab my still. Yours could be a video file. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go tip to tip, merge it on top of it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and resize and position my screenshot so that it's at a place where I'm okay with it. Now what we can do is hold down the shift key to insert our DVE node. Again, I'm holding the shift key, I'm going to insert it. And now we can rotate our thing however we would like. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to keyframe the animation, and then we're going to go ahead and layer on some compositing effects that can level up your fusion composition. Let's start with some keyframing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reset this property for now. And I'm going to set keyframes on the center position, the Z move. I'm going to skip over the pivots. I'm going to keyframe the rotations. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and set up our starting position. And what I'm kind of looking to do is just maybe I'll do like a little zoom out animation. So I'll start zoomed in. We'll shift it off to the right a little bit. And I either want it angled down or angled up. We'll go angled up, rotated to the right. So I didn't mess with my Z rotation at all. All I've got here is a change in the center position, my Z position, and a little rotation in the X and Y. I'm going to go ahead and go to the end of our composition here. So I've scrubbed my playhead all the way to the end. My fusion composition length is, I think, 2 seconds long. Yours can be as long as it needs to be. And then we're just going to go ahead and rotate the other way, zoom out a bit. And I'm just eyeballing it. This is not an exact science here. We'll go ahead and bring it up. And now if I were to go left to right, this is our animation. Pretty fun. It's nothing overly complicated, but it just adds a little bit of dynamic motion to it. Next thing I'm going to do is with my DVE node selected, I'm going to go to the spline menu here, and we're not going to do anything overly complex. I'm just going to Control A to select everything and then F to flatten those points. This will smooth out the handles at the beginning and end of our animation. Very nice. From here, there's so many different ways that we could level up this effect. I'm just going to walk you through step by step some changes that I would make that might make this feel more, however you want to take that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to insert some effects on our image itself. One of those will be the vignette. This is a default node inside DaVinci Resolve. And the reason I'm going to insert it here instead of in between the merge and the DVE is that if I do so, you'll see it cuts off our image. The reason being is that the merge and DVE system are smart. You notice that the DVE here, when I have it selected, doesn't actually extend all the way into our frame. So what it's doing is it's looking at the merge node here and going, okay, well, even though I'm kind of cutting things off here, I know there's more stuff to look at. But when I insert the vignette node, the vignette node's not that smart. So what I'll do is I'll insert it after our image. I'm gonna go ahead and increase the size all the way. And all that does is just add a subtle gradient. So if I do Control P before and after, just a little subtle gradient. Next thing I'll do is I'll add in some digitalization. And this is a tip that I learned from Mr. Jake Whip that I have always enjoyed and liked. First node is gonna be a scan lines node. Now, if I hold Shift to insert here, ooh, coming in a bit aggressive, huh? Well, if I increase the line frequency all the way up to 20, we're getting somewhere here, but it's coming on a bit strong. So what I can do is just go to my settings tab on the scan lines node and decrease the strength to something like 0.5. Yeah, that's looking better. I mean, we could even bring this down to something like 0.2 if you still feel like it's coming in too strong. Or you can go over to like the line frequency and type in whatever number you want. So I could increase the frequency to something like 30. And now we have something much more subtle. From here, we're going to do something cool and unique to Fusion. I'm going to hit Control C to copy our scan lines and then hit Control Shift V to paste an instance. Whoa. Again, what I'm going to do is you could right click and hit Paste Instance, or you can hit Control Shift V to paste an instance node. Now, instances in Fusion are cool because they're linked copies. So if I click this node here and this one here, you notice there's green boxes that connect these two nodes. So if I decrease the line frequency, even though this node isn't connected, because the properties are linked, we're changing the line frequency on both. Kind of cool. I'm going to re-enter 30 here. So something you can do is this. I'm going to hold Shift to insert it here, and then check this out. We can unlink certain properties, which makes, again, Fusion so cool. So I can right click on the line angle and de-instance that property. Now, when I go in here and type in 90, we now have cross hatching of our scan lines. And if I decrease the property on one, it does it on both. Kind of cool. Next thing I would do is add in some chromatic aberration, and there is so many different ways to do this effect, but one of the easiest is to just go up to the effects tab, go to your templates menu, click and let it think for just a moment, go to the search bar, type in chromatic aberration, and voila, we have a template right here. Drag and insert. This is going to create that separation of the RGB channels. So what I can do from here is increase the center point to be more center with our image, and then I'll probably decrease the strength to where we're only getting a smidgen of fringing. You could tack on as many different things as you would like here. So I could add in something like a lens distortion. I'm going to try it after the DVE node and just increase the distortion a little bit. Again, it's just a little fishbowl-y look, makes it feel less flat. But one of the big ones is adding in some sense of focal blur. This is an area that the 3D camera has a leg up on the DVE node. But there's a really cool technique that we can use that I learned from my good buddy Pizza that solves this. Now I have made a separate tutorial on this, but in essence, it works like so. I'm gonna hit Control Space to add in a rectangle node. Oop, or I guess you could have gone from the toolbar. This will end up being our focal window. And it works like so. Remember how we made an instance of the scanline node over here? We're gonna do the same thing with our DVE node. So I'm gonna hit Control C on our DVE node, Control Shift V to paste an instance of it. Now watch this. If I take our rectangle and connect it to the instance DVE node, so the yellow input, not the blue, not the gray, the yellow input. When I hit 2 to preview our rectangle here, normal rectangle, right? When I hit 2 on the instance node, and it will move and rotate 1-to-1 with our other DVE node. It's kind of a funky thing to get your head around, but it's pretty slick because no matter how we move our DVE node, the rectangle is going to move as well. Now that's great and all, but how are we going to get our focal blur? Well, good question. Check this out. Control Space, add in a tilt, shift, blur, node. Bang. Shift, insert, after DVE. I'm going to hit 2 on our media out to re-preview that. And at first glance, hey, that doesn't look too bad, but it's not what we want because we're not focusing on the rectangle. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to change our map source on the tilt shift blur node to second RGB input so that we can call this secondary input, because I'm going to feed our rectangle, our instance DVE rectangle, into the green input. And oh, that's not what we really want either. Well, fret not, little one. All we need to do is decrease our near blur. And oh, would you look at that? Our rectangle's here. Now the edge is a bit sharp, so all we need to do is go to our rectangle node and increase the soft edge. And if we move it around, we can focus on different parts of our image. So you could keyframe the rectangle, you could change the width, however you would like to adjust it. And then if you want to change the strength of the outer blur, here you go. But now we have a very simple 3D camera animation. Hope this helps you out there, and please be sure to check out Shark's tool in the description. I'll catch you in the next one.